Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. My peoples, where you at? We got lots of stuff to talk about now. And of course, what we're going to start with is Donald Trump, because we can't finish up this election season without having one last good old-fashioned Trump scandal. You know, when he loses next week, at least I hope he loses, I think I'll be very, very happy never having to talk about Donald Trump ever again. So what the hell happened? Well, last week, Donald Trump had a rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Because, you know, when you're less than a week out from the election and it looks like you're dead tied in all the actual swing states that you have a chance of winning, the logical thing to do is to go to a state where you're under by 27 points and have a gigantic rally. I don't want to stop the man. I mean, if he wants to go waste his time in New York City instead of going to like a place like Pennsylvania or something that might actually help him win the election, be my guest. I'm just saying, not the smartest move. Anyway, before this rally even started, there were people online comparing it to a Nazi rally. And why would you say that? You know, why would people go, hey, how come, you know, they're comparing this to a Nazi rally? The rally hasn't even started. Well, it's because the last time there was a group with the name America First that had a rally in Madison Square Garden, it was an actual Nazi rally. Way back in 1939, there was a group with the name America First that held a rally there that had thousands of people in it. And this was sponsored by a group called the American Bund, which was a pro-German, pro-fascist group. I actually made a whole live stream about this a couple years ago. It's pretty fascinating, you know, when we look at the sanitized version of history when it comes to World War II, we're taught as children that, you know, the United States, we were good guys and the Nazis and the Germans were the bad guys. And what we're not taught is that there were plenty of Americans, plenty of American citizens who wanted to be on the Nazi side. They wanted to support Adolf Hitler, among them this group called America First. There were lots of groups like this. They were funded by a group called the American Bund, which was like a German society or something like that. But there were other groups too. There was one called the Silver Shirts. Actually, they were called the Silver Legion of America, but that was sort of like their nickname, the Silver Shirts, because they ran around wearing shirts that were silver, and they were essentially like the Nazi brown shirts right here in the United States. There was another one called the Christian Party, which kind of shows you Christianity and the far-right fascist branch of conservatism have always kind of been very buddy-buddy with each other. So getting back to this rally with Donald Trump, people were making those comparisons even before this rally started. And it looks like that the people that were doing that were kind of spot on, because that's what actually happened at this rally. One wackaloon asshole racist speaker after another were at this rally. The reason why it turned into such a big-ass scandal was because of a comedian called Tony Hinchcliffe. Now, who the fuck is Tony Hinchcliffe? If you didn't know who he was, don't blame yourself, because I didn't know who he was. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not young and hip enough anymore. Apparently, he's a comedian, and he got famous by hanging out with Joe Rogan. So that kind of shows you the kind of comedian that he is. Sort of like a wannabe shock comedian kind of guy, but apparently not that funny. And he made some very, very racist jokes. He made some racist jokes about all kinds of people, you know, black people and Latinos and everybody who isn't white. But the thing that got him in big trouble was a joke that he made about Puerto Rico. And I think it's okay if I show this to you, because I've been seeing it all over the internet, all over YouTube, and nobody's getting copyright struck. So I'm just going to show his stupid fucking joke to you.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Now, again, normally I don't follow the national anthem every...
So, yeah, that's the joke that finally reminded people that Donald Trump and MAGA are a bunch of fucking racists. Now, you can see in that crowd there, didn't go over very well, right? Okay, that joke kind of bombed. There were lots of groans, stuff like that. Well, apparently, not only did he do that joke at a nightclub before the rally, he actually had to demo it to the rally organizers, and they had to approve his set, because they're not going to allow just any moron up there to say any stupid shit that they want. It's going to make Donald Trump look bad. And they approved the joke. They heard that joke. They said, this is an excellent idea. Let's piss off a huge part of our constituency by telling a really, really racist joke in a city that has hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people of Puerto Rican descent. Please remember, everybody, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. They're not an actual state, they're a territory, but Puerto Ricans are American citizens. They can't actually vote for president in Puerto Rico, but if they move to the mainland United States and settle in any state and take up residency, they are allowed to vote because they're actually citizens. See, that's the thing, right? Puerto Ricans are not immigrants. They're not illegal aliens. They're nothing like that. They're actual American citizens. They have all the same rights you and I do. It's just that they live in a territory and not a state, so the island itself doesn't have any electoral votes, which is bullshit. They should be allowed to vote, if you ask my opinion. If you're in the United States territory, you should be allowed to vote for president. I mean, because you're a fucking citizen. I don't see why not. Unfortunately, I'm not in charge. So yeah, because of that really well thought out joke there, the Puerto Rican community in this country have suddenly remembered that Donald Trump is a huge giant bigot and everybody from MAGA is a fucking asshole. Because if you didn't know this, not only does New York City have hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans living in it, but all of the swing states out there that Donald Trump needs to win, states like Pennsylvania, states like Michigan, and states like Arizona and Wisconsin, all of these different places that he's been, North Dakota and whatever, all these places that he has been spending millions and millions of dollars in trying to convince people to vote for him, there are hundreds of thousands of people of Puerto Rican descent who live in those states as well. According to Politico, there could be as many as 1 million Puerto Ricans who are living in swing states right now. And apparently these people are pissed. Now remember, like I said, they're American citizens. They live in a mainland state, like a swing state. They are allowed to vote just like everybody else. And they're extremely angry at Donald Trump, and for good reason. And this is so bad that the Trump campaign and even Donald Trump himself has had to distance himself from it. He's had to walk back from this. Which, if you remember right, Donald Trump never walks back anything. Donald Trump never, ever apologizes for anything. Ever. And it's part of the sort of tough guy CEO image that he puts out there. He puts out this image of I am the alpha male guy. Everything I do is right. Everything I say is correct. I know everything. I'm the best at everything. That's what Donald Trump does. Nobody knows more about this than me. I had the best economy, blah, 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 blah. Even when it's just blatantly untrue, he just lies and says he's the best and that he knows everything. And he never, ever, ever admits mistakes. A good example of this is the covfefe debacle. If you guys remember, he misspelled the word coffee in a tweet. Everybody made fun of him. People started asking him, what does covfefe mean? And instead of admitting that, I was fucking tired and I have big ass fucking gorilla Neanderthal fingers and I fucked up my tweet, or I just misspelled it because I'm an idiot, instead of just admitting it, he tweeted out, the people who know what it means know what it means. He couldn't even admit that he misspelled a word. It happens to all of us, especially when you're tweeting from your phone at 2 in the fucking morning or something like that. You fuck it up. You misspell something. Big fucking deal. Nobody would have thought any less of him if he just would have admitted that he accidentally did a typo. But no, he couldn't even do that. So this is a man that is so vain. He's so vain, he's so full of himself, his head is so far up his own ass that he can't even admit when he does a simple typo in a tweet. And he's walking back these comments that, please remember, these are comments that he didn't make himself. So it's sort of like he has to apologize for that because he knows they fucked up. Usually what would happen, Donald Trump would say, I don't care. This is what would happen every single time something like this has happened in the past during the Trump administration and afterwards, where somebody has said something that is stupid or whatever that's part of his campaign or something. He would instantly throw that person under the bus. So I don't know who that person is. I've never met him before. Oh, that guy's brand new. He's gotten coffee for us, whatever. I've never met him, even if it's like his best fucking friend, you know, someone that he's worked with for years, somebody like Scaramucci. Remember Scaramucci? He just immediately throws Scaramucci under the bus for whatever reason. Like, but he never ever apologized for anything that any of his stand-ins has ever said or done. This time he actually did. This is one of the few times that Donald Trump has actually like apologized and said, "Oh, I had nothing to do with that, blah, 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 blah." Why? Because he knows that he seriously fucked it up. He knows that he can't win the election when 1 million Puerto Ricans are voting against him. That's exactly what's going on, right? You have all of these celebrities who are Puerto Rican who are like coming out against Donald Trump, because I guess this was just a bridge too fucking far. I mean, what I don't get is how come they're like weren't speaking up to begin with. I mean, I don't know, maybe some of them were, but you had people like J-Lo. There's this guy named Bad Bunny. I don't even know who the fuck that is. I think he's like some kind of like musician or something, or, you know, hip hop guy or whatever. I have no clue. Anyway, Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Rec. And I guess her father's Puerto Rican. I didn't know that. Mark Anthony, Sonny Hostin, Ricky Martin, another guy named Louis Fonsi. So there's all these like Puerto Rican and Latino celebrities who are coming out and tweeting saying, you know, vote against Donald Trump. We can't stand for this bigotry, blah, 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 blah. And here's what I don't get, folks, right? Why did everybody forget that this is what Donald Trump is all about? Donald Trump has always been racist. He's always been a bigot since day one. Since before even he was running for president. He put out, apparently way back in the day, there was this severe, like this woman got like beaten and raped. And these 5 guys were wrongly accused of it. And they went on to be known as the Central Park 5. And it was like really bad or whatever. And the cops were like trying to beat confessions out of these guys and stuff like that. Donald Trump puts out an ad in all the major newspapers of the time. This is back in 1989. And basically saying that New York should execute these guys, that they should put back the death penalty and execute them. And then it turns out, of course, that these 5 guys were innocent. They were accused wrongly. They were coerced into confessing. One of the guys, if I believe it right, one guy basically said they just beat the shit out of him until he fucking like confessed, stuff like that. They were threatening their family, shit like that kind of thing. And Donald Trump never retracted that. And that's a lie that he spreads, and to this day, in interviews and at rallies, he still says that those 5 guys are guilty. The exonerated Central Park 5 are still guilty. And apparently the Central Park 5 are suing Donald Trump now because he said that shit in a rally, I think as like late as like fucking late as like last month. He's like still saying this shit. And so they're suing him now because of that, for defamation. So even before he became president, but there's still many examples of when he ran for president the first time and then when he actually was president of him being a complete racist fucking asshole. You know, his very first speech when he came down the golden fucking escalator and like paid all those people, you know, to stand there holding signs. Remember that his first like public appearance when he like declared for the presidency was him fucking paying people to like support him. That's actually true shit. Like he paid people $50 to stand there with a sign, you know, supporting him and stuff. His very first speech there, where he said, oh, they're sending rapists and murderers, and some, I suppose, are good people. As he was president, he was throwing people in fucking cages. He was doing this to, like, undocumented immigrants and stuff like that. Well, you know something? If you were, like, an undocumented immigrant from Europe, you didn't get thrown into a fucking cage. Your kid didn't get taken away. That only happened to like people from south of the border, right? He was deporting people left and right, people who had families here. Someone who would come and then like they would have their kid and their kid would be like 2 days old or whatever when they came over and they've known nothing else. They would get deported. Guys who have come here like, 30 years ago and they have families and they have businesses and they have jobs, those guys were getting deported. There was a case I remember where like a girl got deported the day that she graduated high school. Like they came and they showed up and they deported her right after she gave a valedictorian speech. Stuff like that. Children getting thrown in fucking cages, separated from their family. Hundreds of those children never even saw their families ever again. This is all shit that Donald Trump did as he was president. And then we have like all the different stories of him being fucking racist as hell, calling Haiti and Africa, and countries in Africa, calling them shithole countries, things like that. He repeatedly refers to people who are black as low IQ. He does that constantly. He did that to Obama. He said that about Kamala Harris. If you guys haven't caught on with that, by the way, calling someone low IQ when they happen to be black is essentially the same thing as the N-word. That's what he does. He's used other Nazi rhetoric. Like he said shit like immigrants are poisoning the blood of the nation. Shit like that. So he's always been a fucking racist. You know what? I guess he just had to be specific about it. I guess they had to just piss off the wrong group. I guess like all these people were just like, oh, well, he's a racist piece of shit, but he doesn't mean me. And I'm glad to see that, okay, well, at least the Puerto Rican community in this country is waking up to him. What I don't get is that how every single other person who isn't an uncollege educated white male is not saying the same fucking thing. Donald Trump's support among Latinos and black people has actually increased since 2016. It's increased a lot. I mean, why would anyone who's black support Donald Trump? Why would anyone who's Latino, Hispanic, why would you support Donald Trump? Especially after all of the shit he's said and done, specifically against people who look just like you. I don't understand that shit. Is it because people just don't pay attention to politics? Is it because people just forget? I think that's what it is. I think this shit just gets a memory hold, and then everybody forgets what a vile piece of shit that this man is. So I'm glad, on the one hand, that this dumb shit comedian, whatever the fuck his name is, I'm glad this guy screwed up and said something really fucking racist and reminded everybody exactly what Donald Trump is and what MAGA is all about a couple of days before the election. Hopefully, people out there who haven't decided yet are starting to make up their minds here. And this might just nudge them, like give them a gentle reminder. Oh yeah, these guys are fucking Nazis. Maybe I won't fucking vote for them. But the other part about this that gets me is that, well, I think us on the left, especially when it comes to influencers. I don't really consider myself an influencer because I don't make money doing this. But still, there are, I have my little circle of people that watch my stuff, very small circle. And it's like, it's our job. It's our job to make sure that people don't forget what the MAGA people are all about and what conservatives and Republicans and stuff are all about in general. It's up to us. We should be reminding people constantly, day in, day out, making content, posting to social media. Oh yeah, remember the time that they did this? Remember the time Donald Trump said that? Right? Reminding the people that this is what they really are all about. They don't give a fuck about you unless you're a very small segment of this population. Unless you're like a white Christian, uncollege educated male that has a shitload of money. Unless you're that, they don't give two shits about you. Our job is to make sure people never fucking forget and to make sure that this asshole never gets within 20 feet of that fucking desk in the Oval Office. And if he does, that means we failed. So please, folks, as of this recording, it is November 2nd. If you haven't already, please, please, please vote. Send in your mail-in ballot, go drop it off at a Dropbox, show up on November 5th and vote, whatever it is you gotta do. But we cannot allow this fucking racist Nazi piece of shit to be back in power again. If we do that, then this country fucking fails. Anyway, that's all I got, folks. Adios.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.